Welcome to Deep Breath, the intentional pause we take together to slow things down for just a moment, to feel grounded in the present, focus on mental health, and recenter your day in small segments that everyone has time for. As we enter this space together today, notice your posture, your alignment. Stretch your body a little bit to feel your spine, your neck, your arms, your hands, your feet. And just pause for a moment for a deep breath. We're going to talk today for just a moment about container. Container is a practice that you can use not as a way to avoid what we think or feel or what we need to work on, but instead to be strategic of what needs to wait for right now. We don't want to just push away and avoid, whether it's our feelings or tangled up emotions or processing about an interaction or a conversation or a relationship or past trauma or grief work or things like that. We don't want to push it away because it will actually intensify and get bigger. And all of the tangled up, implicit, unconscious things interrupt our relationships and our functioning. So what we're talking about with container is more of an idea of knowing our limitations, knowing that we can't do too much too fast because that will just re-traumatize us or completely overwhelm our nervous systems. We want to develop something that allows a little bit more space, a little bit of peace and calm and being able to focus when we need to. Maybe we're at work and we need to be able to concentrate in a meeting or with coworkers, or maybe we're spending time with a loved one, a family member, and we don't want to think about work in those moments. It's just a way to kind of have a resting spot for some of these thoughts, feelings, stressors, things that are overwhelming, to kind of have a place where they can be held and that we can come back to them. So it's not at all avoidance. It is very much a pause or a pacing that is happening. So you can imagine any kind of container that you can either visualize, or you could have an actual tangible concrete container. It could be a box. It could be Tupperware. It could be a backpack. It could be a safety box or a piece of luggage or any kind of container that you can imagine. A mason jar. Some people use like a drawer or a shelf in their home. You can also create some expressive arts around your container. If you have a shoebox and you want to cut out magazine words and images and things that you could glue onto your container that are meaningful to you, that's a great expressive arts activity. You can use a file folder. You can create something. You can have it be in your mind's eye. You can kind of decide how you want to use an image of a container. It could be something meaningful or something somewhat random. You can choose that. And then decide what you need to put into the container that you want to pause and come back to later. Maybe it's something you wait until your therapy session that you can work on with your therapist. Or maybe it's something that you can come back to when you get some rest or have something to eat, or you're feeling in a better headspace to do some some of your work on things that feel emotionally or relationally tangled. But I also want to consider other ways of seeing a container that are a little bit outside the box. I've processed some of this on my own and my own experience of how a moment of time can be a container. Like pressing play on my Calm app when I have 10 minutes of meditation. In that 10 minutes, everything else can kind of be on pause because I'm just focusing on that meditation moment. A counseling session can be a moment of time that in that session, all I'm focused on is the person that is sitting with me as the therapist working with a client, or also for a client working with a therapist, that counseling session is kind of its own haven, its own workspace, its own safe refuge. Or maybe the moment of time is setting a timer and just saying, for the next 5 minutes, I'm going to put my feet up, or I'm going to sit on the porch, or I'm going to focus on listening for the birds or for the sound of a fountain or something peaceful. Another kind of container can be a place. It can be where we leave something at our therapist's office, and we know that that's the space where we can do the work and not be alone with it. It could be a chair where you sit for specific things, like doing grief work in a certain chair or journaling in a certain chair. Maybe it's a place like by the river or by the lake or on your porch or deck. A container can also be a person, a place that is relationally safe, where you have a sense of being held together, that you can trust that you can work with this safe person and they will hold it with you. So you don't have to carry it alone or carry it all of the time, but that you can trust that person. Maybe your container is like a yoga mat, where it shows you a specific, the rectangular shape is like an energetic boundary, that anything off of that yoga mat is not of my concern right now. And I'm just focused on getting in my body and stretching my muscles. And so it feels like its own sense of container that holds me. Maybe you see container as a pacing, that for this amount of time, maybe for the morning or for the evening, or even saying not for today, having a certain pacing is like a container for the work that we do. And I'm talking about the kind of work that is checking in with your nervous system and what relationally and emotionally needs some time and attention. Maybe for validation, maybe for untangling the meaning, maybe for revisiting kind of what came up for you or what that stirred up that doesn't feel resolved yet. That's the kind of work that I'm talking about, that we all need to be doing, because all of our relationships are impacted when we don't, including our relationship with ourselves. So as you focus on your container that you've chosen, maybe it's something concrete, maybe it's something like a moment of time, a place, a person, or pacing. You can add some slow bilateral taps, left and right, with your feet, with your hands on your lap, with a butterfly crossing your arms across your hands on your arms across your chest. But adding some slow taps can kind of reinforce that I'm leaving this burden or this challenge in this space. And it can wait for now, but I'm going to come back to it and I'm going to keep working on it. And I'm just going to take care of my nervous system right now by using this container. So I encourage you to experiment with this, sit with this a little bit with what I'm introducing you to, and then allow yourself to kind of quiet your heart and your mind and your nervous system with that slow bilateral tapping and just noticing what needs to go in the container today. And then make sure that you prioritize revisiting that and coming back to it, not ignoring it, not burying it, not stuffing it, but coming back to it with intentionality and with often safe accompaniment of someone who can be in it with you and help support you through it. Thank you for being with me today on Deep Breath. I hope you'll have a chance to practice this container and reflect on these ideas and keep coming back to it, because it's a tool that you can use to support your healing and growth. We're in it with you, and I'm so glad you're here.